This video, we strive to remain spoiler-free, discussing only story and plot elements from the animated series relevant to what has already occurred on the Netflix show.
I am Max.
I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger. Welcome to What the Adaptation, where we take a look at things from one medium that have been adapted to another medium and see how they stand up. Joining us again to discuss Avatar the Last Airbender, the live-action Netflix show, episode 4, Into the Dark, also known as Please Dear God, Don't Make Me Watch This Again. We have joining us reverseBLT and Tom from Dragonmount. Thank you for being here.
Hi, you're welcome. I like coming and hanging out with awesome nerds.
I think I know that guy. It's gonna be a fun one to discuss because I know I have some oppositional opinions.
Yeah, I have feelings. I definitely have feelings.
You will be happy to know though that I do have some negative things to say about this one. So it's not all like cheerleading for me.
So do I. So much so that instead of going with our normal questions that I normally go with, I'm honestly just going to be like, okay, let's list what we hated about this episode and let's list anything we loved about this episode. That is going to take all the time we have. Because I
actually do have believe it or not, I have more positives than I do negatives about this episode.
That's saying something for this episode.
As always, I am prepared to back up my points, though.
Okay. So what you're saying is we can't go on a 3-hour tour, then, right?
I just have a question. Why didn't they braid the armpit hair?
His armpit hair is pretty fantastic. I mean, he has epic armpit hair in the animated show too. So
it's very spiky in there. So I get what they were doing. I mean, it's kind of on brand for Boomy. So. About the only thing that's on brand for the animated Boomy.
I would just hate that makeup process.
I don't think that's it. I think a lot of it is the writing.
I think there was a process.
Yeah, there were things I loved in this episode, and there are things that I just do not understand. There's stuff going on, and I'm like, wait, that's book 2, right? I had to ask Tom. I'm like, am I losing my mind? Or that's from book 2? That's
7 episodes. This one episode combines 7 episodes,
which is just crazy. That is a huge amount to sort of cram into one.
Pretty sure you're talking about these guys.
Well,
they're one of the best parts of this episode.
Yeah,
they are.
They're also.
I love the songs.
They're also more of an
Easter egg segment being in season 2.
Yeah, the whole tunnel thing. The lovers that. All that is from book 2, and I'm like, what are we doing?
I think it takes 3 episodes from season 2. The Cave of Two Lovers, the Zuko alone episode, it dips into a little bit, and the Tales of Ba Sing Se.
Thank you, that one.
Those 2 aspects, the last 2 you mentioned there, are 2 of the aspects that I love about this episode. Are Zuko's whole journey. He has a chance to get at the Avatar or go for Iroh. And he absolutely is like, you know what? Uncle Iroh, absolutely.
In some ways, I like what the live action show did with Zuko and Iroh's relationship a little bit more. Like they kind of flesh it out more and give it a little bit more depth.
I mean, this scene.
Yeah. That scene is oh my god, I cried again. Like
yeah, me too.
Like I bawled from on Tales of Ba Sing Se. And when we rewatched book 2 on the rewatch show that we do, it was on my birthday when we watched the Tales of Ba Sing Se.
Oh wow, that is a bad choice.
Yeah, the guest that we had for that episode was she's an awesome lady, a TikToker. I messaged her and was like, hey, I saw that you love Avatar, you should come do an episode of my show. And she was like, yeah. But I was like, yeah, come cry with me on my birthday.
Seriously, I don't know how you watch that episode without crying. I mean,
I can't hear those notes of music without.
Yeah, no, same.
anytime I hear someone, anytime I see a TikTok come up on my feed and it's, do you want to make an entire generation cry? I just zoom by as quickly as possible.
Be like, I know what this is. I know what this is.
I know he leaves from mine. Either that or fucking Atreyu and his damn horse from fucking.
I literally was just thinking that. I read
That
your mind,
reminds
I
me.
Traumatized
Isn't
us
that
all.
Falcor?
It does kind of look like
that
Falcor.
does
That's
look like
Flopsy.
Falcor.
That's
a little
Flopsy.
bit, but yeah, I thought they captured
that's
Flopsy
the-
pretty well there.
Falcor the
one of the
Light Dragon.
That's one of the greatest animal combinations I feel like in Avatar. The goat gorilla.
Goat gorilla bunny.
Oh well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, I guess he's also a bunny. He's got the
it's
ears.
like a gigantic bunny goat gorilla thing. It's very strange.
I still feel like they ripped off the chocobo though.
Oh,
you don't have to
yeah.
feel like it. That is a chocobo. It is a chocobo.
Yeah.
Period.
I think it's like a straight up homage. I think we can all agree on that one.
Yeah. It's supposed to be an
Square Enix would like to have a word.
Yeah, ostrich.
Speaking of outstanding things, there's one particular scene with the guard, the Earth Kingdom guard, where he is talking to Iroh. That guy, he absolutely killed that. I mean,
he did kill it.
You feel his anguish talking about his brother, and it is amazing.
Captain Dixit or something like that.
Yeah.
And
that guy's
also
been in a
like
bunch of
really,
stuff, actually.
Albert Nicholas
Yeah, I've seen
is his name.
I
Yeah, him. Yeah.
can't think of where. I loved it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I looked him up because I was like, wow, that guy can act. Like, what else has he been in? He's not just some like background actor. He was in Planet of the Apes and Supernatural and Lucifer and a couple other things. Like really good. Really good. I think he did voice acting too.
He's one of those people you see, you're like, I know that guy. I know that guy from stuff.
Yeah, I've seen him before.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where, but I've seen him.
Yeah,
but he killed that role, man.
He had I think a couple of episodes in Lucifer and a couple episodes in Supernatural. But yeah, no, I was like, this guy is like, I'm surprised I haven't seen him in more stuff. Like he's got chops. Like he can act. A good serious actor too.
Yeah, I mean, he killed it.
They pointed out the fact that his brother was 19.
Yeah.
He died. You know, it's like one of the things that and you know, the animation, and that's one of the things I actually do want to talk about, because I think I always try to approach these adaptations from the perspective partially of how would I write them, and like what my own sensibilities think of why they made some of the choices they made, right? And Tom, you missed this because I know you were talking about because you weren't there when we were talking about this thing, but it was something you had brought up before, which is what I mean by you missed this. Not like you,
Jeff.
not like it went over your head or something.
Oh,
but like we were talking about like a while back about how the idea of minutes, right? Like how the live action has roughly the same amount of minutes to tell its story as the adaptation, as the animation did, right? Hey, I'm not that old. It's funny. I actually got basically sideways called very, very old in my one of my IT classes recently. The guy was the teacher. The teacher was actually saying how you know, we don't have to worry about running into Perl script. Basically, he said that's the kind of thing that only really old people even know how to use anymore. I'm talking like people over 35. And I'm sitting there like, and I literally told him, I was like, so you mean people like me? Because I'm 46.
Son of a bitch. Really?
That hurt.
He just sort of let that go. But anyway, to get back to the point. So minutes, right? So I was talking about the fact that like that you have to consider it not in terms of minutes, right? They may have the same amount of minutes to tell the story, but each episode becomes a chapter, like a book chapter. You know what I mean? So you have to have like a beginning, middle, and end of each chapter, right? So even if you do have the same total number of minutes, if you've broken them up into far fewer sections, you can't do the story the same way at all. You have to start looking at your chunks and limiting everything you're doing to those chunks, like thematically or stylistically or whatever you're choosing to build that particular chapter around, you don't have the luxury of treating it like it's the same amount of minutes as it would have been broken up differently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, like you mentioned, for instance, they use about 7 episodes worth of material here, which I do think was too much. I think they may have benefited from just leaving some of it to season 2.
I think it was too far reaching. Is my problem is you're going way down the line and pulling stuff, and I'm like, do we need that right now? Is it important right now?
So the and I hate to say it because it's easily one of the greatest episodes ever, but like the Tale of Two Lovers episode is probably the most filler like episode that there really is. There's not a lot of story development to the overall story. They build a little bit with Sokka, and they build a little bit with Katara and Aang's like overall feelings for each other and things like that a little, but and then that's pretty much it. That's all that really happens in that episode. And then they travel some distance, but like there's not that's the only episode out of the batch, and I think we said it was like 7 episodes there is in this that's in there that doesn't have a lot of content. And like I agree with you, Reverse, and I disagree with you at the same time, but like I agree for sure.
That's pretty much how we always are.
Like on the idea of minutes and runtime, because like each episode of the animated series has a full arc. Like not each episode, but like 90% of the episodes, the ones that aren't divided into parts, are a full arc, but they're only 23 minutes long, and you can't really do that much justice in a live action setting. So I get that. Like they have to kind of expound on what you would have in each episode in the live action version of it. But I feel like this episode kind of failed on a couple of not failed. Like
I'll say failed. No, I don't think the episode as a whole, in my opinion, because I did like the episode on balance, so I wouldn't call the episode a failure, but there were elements in which it absolutely did drop the ball.
I
agree.
Elements
failed, you know what I mean?
One thing I'd mention is that the show was not even looking at the cartoon; it was a cohesive plot.
Yeah.
There was nothing that wasn't cohesive. Like
it did have a full cohesive storyline. It didn't really jump all over the place, but it felt crowded. Like even not considering the animated series at all, it felt a little crowded. There was a lot of new characters that all played significant role in the episode.
Right.
And they all had impact with almost every single character. Like they interacted and had impact with almost every one of the main characters. Like, and
they were also part of the main character storylines, where we had Aang's storyline, we had Sokka and her storyline, and we had like that mini plot line with her at the beginning with Jet that just kind of got like sidetracked.
Yeah. I feel like they could have cut the whole Jet portion of this.
Yeah, because we're gonna revisit it later. So why do we need to put this in?
Maybe
that did kind of touch upon the mechanist's plot line,
sort of, maybe,
and tie that up.
Yeah,
I think the issue was that they had this theme, right? It's right there in the title. They wanted to talk about this concept of like finding your light in the darkness, right? Like getting over the cynicism and everything that you're carrying because of the conflicts for your past. That thematically ties Jet back into it. Problem is that that's the only way it ties it back in. You know what I mean? It's just that one little thematic hook that ties it back into the overall story they're telling in this episode. So they should have just dropped the whole Jet Katara thing and focused her character growth on what they did with her and Sokka in the cave, which I personally loved. I know a lot of people didn't like that part. I love that part.
I like it. I just question if it needs to be here now instead of next season, where it makes a little more sense on why they are where they are and why they're doing what they're doing.
Right.
I'm like,
well, I think they put it here.
Is there going to be a reason for the return? There is the question.
Right.
Perhaps
That's
so
one of the
like
big
I
things.
could see them. So like the Mechanist you meet in the Northern Air Temple, which is again an entire episode.
Is now
in and of-
gone.
Yeah. So they could have him fleeing Omashu and going to the Northern Air Temple like they did before. So like, you still could get that. Which could make them have to return to Omashu for the same reason that they did in the show, where the Fire Nation has taken over, and like the same kind of thing. They could do almost those same two kind of episodes, in obviously meeting the different aspects of the story that they built in this episode, but returning for the same reasons. Like, Aang will probably want to go see the Northern Air Temple. Oh, look, the Mechanist is here, and they already have the established thing with him, but they could dip into the other parts that Aang, like that's an Aang, that episode could just be, if they take out the Fire Nation attack of that episode,
Right.
there's a lot of Aang growth in that episode, because he talks about there's a lot of stuff about the Avatar and going into the sealed chamber and and like then him accepting the change to the air temple and the change, and like the people who have moved in and they're enjoying it again, and they do have the spirit of airbenders and things like that. Like he goes through a lot of character growth in that episode, and the most part, like I'm not the most part, that's not English. The
Just
thing
not
that
right order.
I know, right? the thing I feel most strongly about the live action series in the negative versus the animated series is I feel like the viewer is losing out on a lot of really great story content and character building from the animated show. Like that, like some of the stuff that they're cutting down and making more concise is to the story, the detriment of the storytelling, and just in my opinion. But
I could see that.
Overall, this, other than I just flat out don't like the way that they did Boomy. I get it.
Agreed.
It's more realistic in the sense of like, here's a guy who like one of his best friends growing up is the Avatar and is going to be helping the world. And then he disappears and Boomy has to live for 100 years of war.
Right.
So I get him being a little cynical and a little angry. Like I get that.
He just came off as
Here's the
bitter
thing.
and kind of crappy.
I mean, 100 years of having to deal with the Fire Nation could make one that way.
I know, but
And here's the
that's
thing.
just not who he is at his core in the animated series.
No,
That's not who he is. So
Think outside the box guy, fun.
I'm gonna disagree slightly.
Okay.
This is where it's gonna get fun.
Okay,
So
let's go.
remember how like in episode 1, I think it was, I mentioned something about how like the whistle was a really big thing for me.
yeah.
This is the episode that's the reason for that.
Yeah.
Because when we first saw Aang with the whistle in episode 1, I was like, oh, that's weird. He already has his whistle. So obviously I knew we probably weren't going to be doing the pirates, but I was sitting there, that was stuck in the back of my head. I'm like, why does he already have his whistle? That's a very interesting choice, and in this episode, I think we get where it's sort of the episode that explains exactly what the adaptation team is going for with the series, I think, in a lot of ways. Because all of this was there in the animation. It was there. Remember the first shot we get of Omashu in the animation? It's Earth Kingdom soldiers jettisoning some poor guy's cart off a cliff, off the entryway, because we don't even know why. But he's a refugee. He's trying to gain entry to the city because he's scared and the war is outside. And what do we see inside the city? We don't see a city that's participating in the war against the Fire Nation. We see a city that's walled itself up, is being very harsh about who it lets in and who it doesn't. And when we meet Boomy, yeah, it's played for laughs, but I don't think he was a different person than this Boomy. I think it was just toned down. I think we got a lot of toned down stuff in the animation, but
he wasn't angry.
You know what I mean?
He was like angry at Aang, like where that never really came out in the animated thing, but he did kind of fuck with him a bunch too, with the tests and stuff. So
Yeah,
So
but
my
the
read on him
overall
was he was
arching
going back and
reason
forth.
changed,
You know what I
and
mean?
that's what bugs me. His reasoning behind doing things the way he did in the animation was, okay, I need to get the avatar at least in the right headspace to do what he has to do. He's my
just being
friend.
vindictive.
This is how I can help him. This Boomy isn't doing that. He's being a dick because he's upset. And he's rightfully upset. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But his whole motivation changes. It isn't until he sees the whistle that motivation, gets, okay, well, I guess I can help him out. So that whole motivation does change the core of that person. And I don't
I think
like it. I don't like
I think
it.
he was dancing back and forth throughout the whole episode. Because when he first sees Aang, think about it. So this is a trauma response. You have a person who wants to believe things can be good. He sees this familiar face. He wants to believe that his friend is back. He's the Avatar, for crying out loud. He knows that, which means
Right.
this hope for the world, right? And you can see him because I rewatched it right before watching this because
Me too.
thought I had picked up on that before, and I wanted to see if I still felt that way watching it again. But it's like, because he says, for instance, maybe I wanted you to understand that there are no straight paths for the Avatar. So there's the Boomy from the series, right? From the animated series, trying to teach the Avatar a lesson. But then he takes a step back into his hurt place and starts talking about how, well, you weren't here and this, that, and the other thing. That's a very, and it was a choice, and I get how that choice can be difficult to accept.
Yeah, I didn't
especially
like it.
compared
I'm not gonna lie.
to the old. I liked it maybe because I've been through trauma that has made me do that. So it's like I saw a little bit of something I understood reflected back at me, but like I saw a person who wanted on one hand to believe things could go back to the way they were, and on the other hand could not let himself trust that was true, and was bitter, yes, but also wanted to not be bitter. And what we saw at the end with the whistle coming out and him reminding him of this was the moment of choice of like, you get to choose once and for all, right here and right now, whether you will join me and try to be the person you used to be and try to make that world again with me, or if you're going to stick in this new rut. Because at the end there, he had basically chosen to give up, which I think, and I'll agree with you. At that moment, he was definitely 100% not the Boomy we knew at all. That moment where he was like, we're just going to die together, That was him giving up.
What did Iroh say to this guy?
When war sometimes shows us things about ourselves we don't like, basically.
Yeah, that it pushes us to our very limits.
Right.
And sometimes
and that's what I mean by the
dark limits.
Here, like all of these stories were so grounded in that idea of like, how much do you change because even that guy, I bet you that guy also, because you can see it in his face. That was one of the things that was great about that actor. You can see the conflicting emotions going on in his face too.
That guy,
this, yeah.
I
love this scene, but I really wish we had left. We could have moved this to which part in later.
But like, I bring that up because how did war change Jet? How did it change the other guy? How did it change Boomy?
Yeah, how did it change everybody?
That is a great theme that I think both shows do. Like both of the live action and animated did well, but I think the live and I hate to harken back on like because it's such a personal like feeling. It's not really like a critique of it of like the show, the animated series just I feel like did it so much better, but it also did it in a way that was more lighthearted and not serious, and that's because the target audience for the animated series was like 11, 12.
It was a Nickelodeon
13.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and preteens and early teens
characters for the live action show, and they literally said that their target audience was going to be like original series fans and Game of Thrones fans. So I get it.
It would have been nice if they could have figured out a way, because I'll, it's not like I didn't like Shobumi. Shobumi's a legend or Avatar, animation Boomy is a legend for a reason.
Yeah.
It would have
felt
been
like they did
nice
him dirty.
to have had a little bit more of his just overt goofiness. That would have been nice.
Yeah.
It's like we got at the very tail end.
Yeah,
there,
yeah. I mean, one of the really good things about that isn't just because it's like, when he did that. Not just that it's more fun or anything like that, but it lends to the idea of like Yoda from Star Wars, where like Yoda is always walking around with his cane and like, oh, he's a feeble old man, and then one time he drops that cane and is flipping all over the damn place and fighting people with lightsabers, and oh my god, Yoda was deceiving us the whole time. So like, Boomy is great.
I remember people hating that scene just because
loved
it was so different from what we ordinarily saw of Yoda.
Oh, that dervish of a murder Muppet was awesome.
I thought it was great.
The first time I saw that, the film, and it was actual film at that point still in the theater that I saw it at, burnt. Right at that scene. Literally, Yoda did a flip off the thing, and then the film, you could see it like
bubble
burn.
and blister.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Wow.
But the
you universe?
Yeah, I know, right? Like he was kind of deceiving everybody as like this guy's like just an eccentric idiot. No, he's probably one of the most brilliant strategists alive. Like, So I like, and they, like you said, they did kind of hint toward maybe he's going to get back to that, but I don't know. I like it.
I think
he came across as
thank you,
sort of unloyal and bitter more than
that's
the actual animated Boomy. Yeah, I don't like that. So I'm sorry. That is not the Boomy in my heart.
I know. I don't like that either, but I'm trying to look at it as a non-animated series watcher.
I real quick, I just want to point out, none of us should ever in any way feel like we should feel like, oh, I'm sorry, or or defensive about our emotional gut reactions.
No,
right?
No.
Yeah, because it's like when I first saw him too, I was like, my very first thought was, what did they do to my Boomy? That was my very first thought.
And I still feel that way.
Okay,
I didn't get over that part. I'm still there.
Here's the valid. I feel like I want to see if you guys agree with me, because I feel like this is just 100% valid of a critique that is not based in any kind of emotional state. His fucking makeup sucked.
Yeah.
Yes.
I initially thought they took
especially the close up
was.
Yeah, the close up was not great.
Yeah, like
you could see
it was good from afar, but soon as they got close to that man's face,
by the way, this is. Did you guys notice that it says Macho Man on the inside?
I don't know. I see Taz on the outside.
I like it because of irony. This is a very ironic mug for me.
I'm wearing a wrestling shirt, so that kind of fits.
Nice. I used to love wrestling back in the day.
You didn't represent with Toph tonight?
Oh no, I wore Toph last week. So,
but it's Earth Kingdom night.
It's every day's Earth Kingdom night for me.
Speaking of the greatest, completely on point. By the way, it's just the makeup. The makeup sucked. I'm sorry, I'm responding to the comment there. The makeup wasn't so great, but the costuming was fantastic.
Speaking of the greatest Earthbender to have ever lived,
Toph.
They also say
spoilers.
I don't give a shit, dude. It is literally in my name, Toph fanboy.
Yeah, me too. Toph is easily my favorite character next to Iroh.
He is fantastic.
A Boomy, and they do show it in the show. Like Boomy bends not strictly Earth, like he bends Geminite.
Yeah.
Other Earthbenders don't bend Geminite. Like in the show, Aang can't bend Geminite. I mean, Aang also can't metal bend or anything like that. But the
I don't remember if he bent any of those crystals. You know which part I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's some crystals all over the place.
Yeah. There are some scenes where they bend other things, and it's just I always found it interesting when they kind of expanded on that a little bit, and I'm glad that they still showed that a bit here.
Well, you know my theory about all bending being energy.
Yeah.
I did love the callback to the fact that it was rock candy to the animated series. I love that little tidbit. Maybe I just wanted some rock candy.
Well, not to talk about Boomy for the whole time, but
that's a big issue for me, so I'm okay with it.
He was the biggest thing that made the episode controversial. For
me. He was also like meeting him, and pretty much the entire episode revolves around him and Aang and like what he's gonna do / teach Aang. So he is a big deal in the episode. But I want to bring up something I absolutely loved about this episode, and in some aspects, I think the live action show does much better than the animated series, which is the relationship between Zuko and Iroh. I feel like they add a lot of depth to, and they show. I like how they make Zuko even early on less of like a petulant type child and more of like, this kid who's just trying to do the right thing, and like, he does some things that are bad because like he doesn't really know what he wants. Like he's trying to make his father acknowledge him and love him and be proud of him, but at the same time you could tell he doesn't really respect the things that his father is doing, and like and Iroh and all that. And I just think that I like where they have Zuko's head in the live action show, and then the portrayal of their relationship, the scenes like that you have in your background, Bill, and the stuff that Max was just sharing with the the funeral scene. Like there's so many great moments in this episode with the two of them, and again just furthers my point that I make all the time, is that the Zuko Iroh storyline is probably the best storyline in all of Avatar.
I think there's only one storyline they kind of skipped. I might have missed it in the show, and that's where he doesn't send the troops to the front line.
Oh, where they talk about his father, where he said, they do something similar in the show, but it's not the exact same thing. He says he has the same kind of reaction of like, why would you do that? Like that's not honorable, like with his dad, but it's not the same as
but there's a huge plot line where he's like, I don't want to send these troops to the front line. You're going to get them killed. And he makes a big deal about it, and that's the troops on the ship that he's bringing with him.
Yeah, I love that.
Completely get rid of that whole plot line.
Well, that shows up later.
And again, though, that's
it does.
Again, that's like another thing that's like not necessarily like a bad, like it doesn't make the show bad or anything like that. But I feel like it's another thing that the viewer is losing out on, because it's such great storytelling, and it was such great acting from the voice actors in that in those couple of episodes where they where Iroh kind of expounds on like what happened in their entire circumstance and all that stuff, and Zuko gets a deeper respect and love for his uncle and the crew on the ship, and vice versa, and they have a deeper understanding of why Zuko is the way he is.
Yeah,
and I really like that.
We're jumping ahead a bit there.
Yeah,
so I thought we were trying to avoid spoilers. For
right, for the animated show, I forgot. Well, I mean,
every time that pops up on the screen, I'm literally backstage going, "No, we don't. We really don't. No, we don't."
I called you out like a week ago when we did it by accident.
I'm just thinking, because like even in the show, like we had an episode discussion about their like mad at Zuko and all that a couple episodes back. And Iroh's talking about like you shouldn't be mad about him. He had a hard life,
Yeah.
And like in the show, I think they kind of talk about that. And they talk about it again a few more times.
Yeah, they just do such a better job. I feel like in like I said, in the live action, really, and then specifically not to. I'm not going to spoil it this time. I won't say nothing. But the last episode of this live action show, there's a scene with Zuko and Iroh that I feel like is done so much better in the
Yes,
live
yes.
action than in this.
That episode, so that scene was really good. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
To further like hammer the point home with the scene behind Bill there. What I really loved there was how
I just die for it.
Oh shit!
Your camera's gone insane. Tom, Skynet has control.
I mean, if it helps anything, I took this photo. It looks like he's kicking Iroh.
Really?
Yeah, he's kicking his cuff off, which is great. But yeah,
he's just kicking him out of context.
Oh, and by the way,
old man.
I love the random moments where they'll have something that's literally a frame of perfect replication of something from the show, which was like him kicking the cuffs off. That's like
that axe kick.
Why are you doing this to me, Ken?
But
all right, I'll be right back in 1 second.
Yeah, he's trying to fix it. But I really liked how that bit showed it gave more of a direct motivation, like an emotional connection for Iroh to specifically want to go with Zuko. And it also gave us our really solid understanding of the difference between Zuko and the rest of his family. Because what do we get? We get this point counterpoint immediately of Ozai coming over and consoling Iroh with how great of a legacy his son's legend will be, basically. Like,
congrats, your son's a martyr. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for letting a kid die for the cause. Where Zuko comes over and talks about what he meant to him, and it's
after going with his father's sort of same pattern, and then he stops and turns around and goes back because he feels it's not enough. I think it's really important to nail that moment down.
Yeah,
it's our first real glimpse into Zuko's heart as opposed to his head, and I love that.
Something that I didn't notice on my first watch, but it suddenly hit me on the second watch.
All right, I fixed it.
They made a
welcome back.
Yay! Welcome back.
Fucking camera auto tracking.
Tell you, man, Skynet's after you.
It's true.
But I think they made a deliberate choice because at first I was thinking to myself, what would have even made this better is to follow it up or at least maybe precede it with even an Azula moment of like, what would she say? But then it occurred to me, she wasn't there at all. No. And that is a huge writing choice.
Well, there was no benefit to her relationship with her dad for her to be there. So she's not going to be there. And
they did a lot of, they cooked really well at a lot of things.
which was a departure from the animated show as well, because and that was like a real
when they found out
messed up scene in like because she's smiling when when he burns his face in the show. Like Iroh looks appalled and like terrified, and like Admiral Zhao and Azula are like smiling. They're smiling.
Zhao looks impressed. Azula looks excited.
Yeah,
in that scene, I always remember that. Like she's a very interesting bag of cats. That's for sure.
Yeah, man.
Whatever this guy's taking, they really need to just give the Fire Nation.
I'll take three. I'll take three of them, whatever it is.
You mean Avatar, Geeky Hippie Glenn?
Whatever that guy is on, just give the Fire Nation and the war solved.
I completely support that.
It's worth a shot. Yeah, 100%.
I mean, he's like
very happy,
doomed, and he's got that face. He said they're doomed, and he's got that face.
I like that guy is great. He's got a good voice, and we have two really good singers in the show. Apparently, Boomy, the actor who does Boomy. Oh wow, his name is in my head. It's a he has a very
Utkarsh and Budkar.
Yeah, something like that. He's only been in a couple things. Like Yes, he was in Pitch Perfect, so he's a good singer. But this guy's only been in a couple things, and he's actually pretty good. Like, he's a good singer. I kind of hope we see him some more.
I put this slide in because it's where he's doing the little thing and just showing his little joy there, and then
I like how Sokka's wearing a puka shell necklace almost.
Yeah,
he's gonna hide the I'm enjoying this too much.
Yeah,
I can't unsee Jared Padalecki. Christopher, damn it.
Yeah, he's fucking. I'm telling you, man.
I can't unsee it.
That is baby Jared right there.
Reboot the show, then they'll cast him. I'm assuming. Eh?
Yeah. If they ever redo Gilmore Girls, he can easily play.
Maybe he'll show up as Sokka's dad. I mean,
that would be hilarious. Moose.
I was gonna say, is he supposed to be alive in the sequel series?
Yeah. Well, they gotta get an indigenous actor for Sokka's dad. Ooh, Kitty.
I meant for Sokka.
We do see Sokka in the sequel series. That's
Yeah.
all I will say.
he's still alive.
Because it's old enough,
that fun little thing I would do where I
We don't need that face
or show running this series is I would actually have those hippies show up for one random scene in each season of the show.
I'd totally be okay with that. 100%.
I would do that because I still think that there's some value in at least part of what we got from the Great Divide, even though a lot of people apparently think that's the worst episode ever of Avatar.
I love that episode.
I
come annoy Azula somehow.
I thought, like I said, I think there's some stuff in there.
I think they come annoy
missed that
Azula
part.
somehow.
I don't know.
Azula would just kill them though.
She would have just killed everybody.
True.
I don't know if we want to see the hippies get roasted to death by it.
Whatchamacall, there were very little episodes in the animated series. Almost none that I would say are like completely filler and useless. There's very few.
Hang out with Ty Lee.
One of my favorites is the beach episode, man.
But that's not a filler episode.
No, it's not.
I
love that episode though, and I've come across people like I hate that episode, and I'm like,
you're just a bad.
Those are the folks who hate superhero movies that aren't wall to wall punching each other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
Where's the action? Well, it's like I remember when I went to see the first, the Ang Lee Hulk movie with my cousin, like one of my
I'm
cousins.
Sorry, but yeah, I know.
Yeah, it wasn't so great, but I remember at the end, his reason why he didn't like it was that there wasn't enough action in it. And I turned to him and I said, "What are you talking about? The last 45 minutes of that movie was an uninterrupted action sequence."
Yeah,
and he's like, "Yeah, but that should have been the whole movie."
What?
Yeah, I'm like, how do you even do that?
There are plenty of people who their critique of stuff is literally that. Like it should have just been wall to wall. Like it wasn't terrible. There were terrible elements of it. That's one of those movies where
the writing, number one, the casting of Nick Nolte, number two. Wait, was that one?
Films. That's how I saw it. It was two different films that someone tried to stitch together into one film.
That's the guy that did the Nick Cage Superman, right?
Their own probably could have been fine, but like put together, it was just a mess. And you see that with a lot of these types of movies, where it's like you can see where they had multiple scripts that somebody tried to mush together.
They Frankenstein them together, yeah.
Because
that's
there
how
were moments of
that's how we got Wild West, by the way.
Which is bad.
Yeah,
just
there's a movie that I can hardly say anything good about.
Yeah. Selma Hayek's in it.
Yeah, I was about to say Selma Hayek was in it. That's pretty much it.
That's it. Her and Garters.
Yeah.
We win.
Also can't say anything positive about that. He turned down The Matrix to do that.
Which is just mind-blowing. It's like, really?
Yeah. Well, the director of that is the guy that directed Men in Black, so he thought it was going to be another hit.
And on paper, it should have been, honestly,
Yeah.
It's like on paper at the time, The Matrix was definitely the worst choice.
Yeah.
We're tangent powers.
Okay, we're drifting. We're drifting.
Crystal presence was here in that moment.
You heard stop.
I'm still waiting for her giant button. She's working on
She
a
made
giant
the song.
button.
She showed it to me.
Well, her hand's gonna reach out through the screen.
So I'm gonna say like
Sorry.
it's funny because we have been talking about how they did cook pretty well in some of these scenes they wrote, but my biggest negatives, honestly, for this episode were some weird writing choices. You know, like and some shot composition. There was some bizarre, like
Yeah, cinematography was a little weird. Overall,
Yeah,
I like the
especially-
cinematography of the whole show, but this episode was kind of weird.
Well, it's like-
honestly, this is the weakest episode of the series, in my opinion. Just 100% for me.
I can get behind that.
I definitely, yeah, it might be. I haven't really tried. I don't usually rank show episodes, but yeah, it definitely wasn't one of the strongest ones. That's for sure. But there's a thing a lot of times where it's like the weaknesses will really show up when you have dialogue, like, you know, back and forth, because it's like that people will settle into this really weird version of the shot, reverse shot, and there was a lot of that going on in this episode. It was taking me out of it constantly because of like especially the scene where Sokka and the machinist machinist, sorry, and the and Teo are talking to each other and having their in my opinion, very interesting conversation about like compromises we make in wartime and keep our family safe, and you know, Sokka, of course, having to confront, you know, being let down by another potential father figure who encouraged an aspect of his life that probably hadn't been encouraged up to that point, and all this sort of stuff. And then there's this bizarre shot, reverse shot, zoom in, not zoom in thing going on.
Okay, so I was just looking because I was actually wondering now, because I was like, you know what, thinking back on it, the first 3 episodes had, to be fair, like pretty good cinematography. The first 2 episodes were a different cinematographer. The episode 4 is a different person.
Okay.
I'm wondering if it's someone who's better at filming like
soap operas.
No, but soap operas are usually they do shot reverse shot, but they usually don't jump in their zooms. They have like a thing where they'll do a shot at a mid level, then a reverse shot at a mid level, then the next shot in, which usually be to revisit the points that were being made, and they'll zoom into a like a, what is that called, like a shot, you know what I mean, shot of like shoulders and head, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then they'll do.
So here's a thing. So the guy that did the cinematography for the earlier episodes has been doing cinematography since like early 2000s and has done a ton of movies and TV shows, American Horror Story, all kinds of stuff. And so the other guy has not been doing it very long and does not have a long
that makes a lot of sense.
So we can call this a learning episode.
Yeah, I feel like it's a learning episode for him. He was like trying a bunch of cool stuff out that he just figured out how to do, is what I feel. It's a little... I
can resolve that better in my head than this was just crappy writing and crappy shooting.
Yeah,
because that's kind of how I felt.
Sure, I feel like the writing in this episode is specifically for the Zuko and Iroh stuff is great.
I feel like all the effort went there.
Yeah.
The writing was thematically very strong, like all across the board. Was thematically very strong. The moments that were weak writing wise were when they had to put in some exposition.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Dialogue and
exposition.
Yeah.
Especially with
but other than that, the writing was pretty good, I thought.
Yeah. The scenes with the Mechanist and Sokka, I like a lot. Like something that they. Spoiler. I mean, it's not really spoiler, but like something that they don't do in the cartoon or in the animated series at all is call Sokka an inventor or, you know, intelligent or
an engineer.
Or an engineer. They never use those words when describing Sokka. And the fact that the Mechanist looks at him, he's like, no, you're an engineered heart. Like I like that. I like that they did that.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I love the way that they're remixing Sokka's arc in the live action. That's actually one of my favorite things. A lot of people seem to see him as being emasculated because we're not focusing on how good of a warrior he is. But I'm like, gosh,
he's not a good warrior.
He was never really a good warrior.
Like, he's a decent fighter, but you have to remember he was never really taught how to fight. Like his father left in his formidable years and left him there in charge of children. Like he wasn't taught.
He didn't know what he was doing.
He wasn't taught very well how to fight. He only becomes a good fighter as the series goes on, and then at the end when he gets his special.
He probably taught Sokka the takedown maneuver.
Yeah.
I mean,
who was our
Kyoshi
Warriors, man. Kyoshi Warriors. That's all I gotta say.
And I love that because that's the thing
that's
cool about watching him do his watching him go through his arc, and everywhere he goes, he picks up something from someone. That's the thing that's really neat about Sokka, is that
he is smart.
He learns very fast. Yeah, he's a very smart person. He's a true Renaissance man, and we're gonna get to watch him build towards that.
The live action show was doing that okay. The animated series, I feel like, did it better, where he kind of started, and I know they aged him up, so like they aged him out of some of the more common tropic things that a young, warrior-esque male would have in him as character flaws, like the misogyny and stuff like that. But like with a 13, 14-year-old,
this guy's
didn't miss it.
What he did?
Yeah.
Kind of like what he did.
I don't miss
terrorism,
the
not
loss
so much.
of misogynistic Sokka. To be honest,
no, I don't miss it. I like how they made him grow out of it in a and not even grow out of it. Like he learned. Like that's the thing about Sokka that I like. And you said it, like he's a Renaissance man. He's a sponge. He takes, like, he's smart enough to know, like there's like that saying, I forgot what it is. Like the most dangerous people are the people that are just smart enough to almost understand things, but don't understand what they don't understand. Like I don't, that's not the full saying, but you know what I'm saying.
They're not quite smart enough to know what they don't know.
Yeah, Sokka is. Sokka knows when he doesn't know something, and then knows to find the people that know the thing and then learn from them. And that's they are showing that a bit here, and I like it. But like I said, I kind of I learned to love Sokka, the live action Sokka. It took me a little while, and like on the second watch through, I really appreciated it more. It was mostly just like a shock change for me from the way he was in the animated show. He's just less. He's not as funny, and like his whole role was like comedic thing. But and we talked about it before. It's you can't do slapstick animated comedy in live action without it looking like The Mask, 1998 or whatever.
Yeah,
but then he also politely just asked Mallrats to go bring us to the palace.
The city.
Bring us to the palace.
Yeah.
He still has the sort of like what is it, like he still has that kind of like almost deadpan kind of humor thing that he had in the show.
He's got comedic delivery down very well.
Yeah, they did have to, of course, get rid of most of the slapstick. I think
I hope that they'll find bulge your eyes out.
I mean, there are people that can do just.
Just not a little hard to do that and make him huge.
Yeah.
Or have him like turn into a noodle man. Though I will say, I hope someone on the writing team realizes the opportunity Cactus Juice will give them for a truly insane episode.
Yeah. I hope we get a Cactus Juice episode so much.
If there's an episode where we can totally get some absolute animation moments.
Oh my god. Basically just fear and loathing in Avatar the Last Airbender.
I'd totally be down with that.
They need to
Thompson
season 2 needs to have that, and season 3 needs to go all in on the revisit of the beach episode with the players.
Oh yeah.
And the things need to be in the show.
The theater episode. We need the theater episode.
Oh yeah.
We're
fun.
getting, I mean those two goofy things have to be in the show.
I forgot something. I wanted to. Do you have that image of Boomy again, where he's got his whole getup on?
I got this one.
Yeah, that's good. So that headdress that he's got on in the animated series, it's a little less turban-esque, and it's based on a real life Chinese general, but also very famous in a lot of video games for anyone who's played like Dynasty Warriors. Lu Bu. He was a very famous Chinese general, and he famously used to wear a headdress similar to the one that Boomy wears in the show, but more similar to the one that he wears in the animated series. And one of the cool things about Boomy is he's, I think he's the second oldest person we meet in the series. I think Guru Patik is older than him. I think he says he's 150 years old, and Boomy would be like 112 because he's the same age as Aang.
I know you kind of referenced the theater episode.
Yeah.
The Rock as Toph.
Oh yeah. I really hope they do The Rock. So much. I hope they do it so bad.
That would be the greatest cameo ever.
Do you know
we could
how
actually get him in the show
like
to
that.
be the boulder? Like, how cool would that be if, like, the live
But he was supposed to be the boulder. You know that, right?
Right, I know. That's
Yeah,
why I'm
yeah,
saying
okay,
the most awesome thing is that if
Yeah,
he actually,
they wrote that character
if they could get him to
specifically
be
for
the
him.
boulder,
Yeah,
in the live
great.
action,
That would be amazing.
He wasn't able to be in the. That would just be a great cameo. You know what I mean?
I would be so happy if he did that. I don't know. Like it depends. It all depends on like if he'd be willing to like just make a fun cameo and not be like, yeah, it's going to cost you $70 billion.
Or I want you to rewrite the entire episode so I'm somehow the hero or something.
Yeah.
I can't lose a fight, so you know.
Especially
It'd be
to
so
Toph.
great
No.
if they could just get like big name wrestlers to play every
That would be
character
fun,
in
man.
that one scene.
That would be really fun.
I'd be totally okay with that. And
I would love
believe
it.
me,
I would love it.
I can give you the perfect wrestlers. I mean, I
want to hear it.
I got nothing but time on my hands. So I'd have to go through and literally pick out. Go, okay, who's that going to be? Randy Orton?
Yeah,
Nope,
I mean,
not
each
crazy
one was
enough.
based on somebody, right?
Yeah.
Because we had what was it Fire Nation? What's his face? That was what was his name? Back in the 80s, Russian,
The Iron Sheik.
Yes, yeah, Iron Sheik. That's right. He was like a weird combination of like Russian and like Middle Eastern dictator.
Yeah, he was the Iron Sheik. Yeah.
You know,
Oh, well,
then
Iron Sheik and
you have,
Nikolai
like, the,
Volkov used to work together.
The boulder was Macho Man, pretty much. I mean, he spoke exactly like Macho Man. A little bit Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
The
Step into a Slim Jim.
but yeah, no, man. Now I just want to go back and rewatch the animated series.
You know
yeah,
what?
I mean, that's the thing.
Not a
They
bad
definitely have
idea.
moments where they could embrace. A little bit of
I've
each.
been saying that since the fucking beginning. Like, I don't understand. Like, listen, I'm not saying like I want every character to have a stereotypical, Asian accent. But what the hell, man? Why does everyone sound like they're from the like generic US accent? Like, what the hell? Like, they're supposed to be, first of all, they're all Asian. They're all Asian actors. And then at the very least, give us some like change in accent from it's a whole planet. People live all over the place. Like people from the Fire Nation sound exactly like people from the Earth Nation, and royalty in the Fire Nation sounds exactly like poor rebels in the Fire Nation. So like,
we definitely do need more dialogue coaching going on in the show. That's
yeah,
100%.
it's crazy. I mean,
Southern
like,
Water Tribe should have been like from West Virginia.
no, that's the swamp people. That's the swamp people. The swamp people are the West Virginians, man. That's right there.
Hearing Saka being like, "Well, Ang, I'm not too sure about you, son. We're gonna have to wait a minute."
Yeah,
I'm just imagining
the swamp people are I can't talk. Either West Virginians or like Cajun Louisiana, and that's what I
Oh, I
want.
don't be better now. Hell,
I want,
Sorry,
I want like Leatherhead.
I'm just hearing Katara
I want
and
Leatherhead from the
and
Ninja Turtles
Sokka
cartoon. That's what I want.
with an Appalachian accent.
oh, speaking of rewatches, Tom, I believe tomorrow you're going to be watching what?
Ooh, Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice.
I won't do it 3 times. The yeah, we're taking a little break in between. We're taking a week off in between our rewatch TV shows, and we decided we want to like, let's do a movie. And we were going through some of the movies that we liked. We were like, oh, what's some old movies we like? And then I'm like, well, they're doing this Beetlejuice again, and I love the original. And Crystal was like, yeah, we love it too. So we landed on Beetlejuice. Honestly, we chose Clue first. but we couldn't find it anywhere streaming. So for free.
That's fair.
Or like, you know, just like streaming on a service, you have to pay for it. Like you have to buy it on like Amazon or something. I'm not gonna like be like, go buy a movie and watch it with us. So this movie, Beetlejuice, is if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it on Amazon Prime. We host a watch party, or if you have it in any other way, I will have like, you know, a little timestamp so you can watch along. But
And that is
as I have my
at 9 p.m.
stupid facial tracking camera bullshit.
Yeah, every time you move, man.
I have my power armor helmet back here because we're going to start Fallout August 5th with reverseBLT.
Yes,
we got to keep the tradition going now because it's a thing.
I will be watching tomorrow and when Fallout comes out. I want to thank you guys for being on. Thank you so much for revisiting this slightly painful episode for me. You changed my outlook a little bit.
And let us leave.
The whistle in your heart.
Max. Killing me. I love it.
Yeah.
So join us next week for episode 5. Until then.
Tom's like frozen there.
Don't forget to be awesome.
Yep.
And eat lots of bacon.
Bacon, yes. I love bacon.
Bacon is great.
Not lettuce?
Making bacon pancakes. Making bacon pancakes.